Do you allow your own persona to be part of your filmmaking?
Yeah, I mean it's the same with music as well. Like I think it's impossible to detach from it. You know, like everything you make has got a mark of your personality. And I think, if anything, what I enjoy is embracing that a bit more. You know, like so. That's why we used a lot of on the album, for instance. There's lots of recordings and things that really won't make a lot of sense to some people because there's a noise of a door and a gate and parts of our building that really only make sense to us. And there's words and lyrics that I've got particularly that mean things to me. But I think that it doesn't necessarily have to, you know, it doesn't necessarily mean anything to anyone else, but they could have their own interpretation. Someone might think that door and gate was a prison cell closing and it changes the meaning of the whole song, or they might mishear a lyric and think it completely relates to some experience they had. I think that's really exciting, I think.
Did you have to learn to get personal, or is that something you always had?
I had to learn to switch off about trying to say, oh, I don't want to say that because people will think this. I honestly just, we were left to our own devices really with this album, so we could just do whatever we wanted. And I think that what we wanted to do was make it not too calculated. Like, it's that argument about like the role of an artist being or someone who sits there and writes out, I'm going to have a strategy, I'm going to write a 3-minute pop song and then it's going to go into a 2-minute this and the artwork's going to look like that and we're going to sound a little bit like this band. I think the more you do that, the less honest it is, first of all. And second of all, I just don't think I'm very good at that. Like if I sat down and really tried to write a song that sounded like this or the artwork like that, it would just be a mess. So. But
you haven't had a period like that? Hasn't every band?
Yeah, everyone does. And I mean, everyone has. The reason you get into writing, well, the reason you want to be a journalist is because you read something that moved you. And it is a battle because you don't, the reason that article was great was because it was that person's article. And there's always a moment where you want to emulate the effect. Even if you get confused, you want to emulate the person. And I think that that's a logical moment. I mean, I imagine you wanted to, like, you've seen interviews that really moved you and you've seen documentaries or read things that made you want to become a journalist. So equally, I heard albums and just thought, I just want to create something like that. But really, as you grow older, you realize you just want to create the effect that had. You want something to be as profound to someone, not necessarily write, Kid A. You want to write your own Kid A, without it sounding like it.
Have you, before Breton, have you ever had an output that is as customized for you as this is?
Customized
that fits as well as Breton?
I don't think so. I don't think I've ever had anything like this, really. And it's more, it's definitely the most honest output, or even though it's a small body of work at the moment, like the beginnings of it. Like I've never given this much of myself away.
If you had to explain to someone who doesn't know you at all, what Breton and BretonLABS is? Yeah,
it's a band. And a band with lots of other artists around them that work with each other and try and use all these tools that we've got, like video cameras and drum kits and synths and blogs and websites to try and describe what's going on, I suppose, in art or in music or just in our own lives or in our heads.
And how did it start? What were the early days like?
The early days were basically just a pub with 2 people watching a band of 2 people who were projecting films and trying to make live soundtracks. And that it started off just as a sort of this slightly adventurous idea of making a sort of a live cinema sort of media kind of gig that was part of a band that had all the accessible points of a group. So the instant sort of effect of the fact that a musician stands on a stage and you have a PA system, it's almost the most basic and immediate form of performance and entertainment. And then adding these new tools, like these new synths and computers and projectors and filmmaking things.